Good evening to all of you. Today we are in the series of lectures on Indian knowledge system. Today our speaker is Dr. Neeti Singh of Benares Hindu University. She is a very brilliant scholar and an able teacher, and she will be speaking on Varņa and Āśrama Vyavasthā in Indian knowledge system.
Yes, that is Indian knowledge system, and that is the Varņa and Ashram Vyavasthā. This system has been at the heart of Indian philosophy, as we all know, not just philosophy, rather religion and society for thousands of years. So, here we will try to understand what it really meant in the philosophical domain, how it developed, and how it has been received and criticized through the history. So, Professor Pal has recently sent me a book authored by Arvind Sharma and published by Oxford University Press. And I thank you, sir, for letting me know about and read this wonderful book. The title of the book is Hinduism for Our Times, where the author discussed about caste and stages of life in modern living, especially tracing the very concept of Varnashram in Indian knowledge system. That is, I think, the third chapter of this book. I got it very useful to prepare this lecture of mine. So I'm thankful to Professor Pal for providing me this stage to deliver a lecture on Varnashram Vyavasthā. Last year, I gave 4 hours deliverance on Indian ethics, and that was in 2 parts, and 2 hours each on the particular lectures I delivered on this platform, especially. And I think the videos are still available on the official YouTube channel of Forum for Applied Philosophy. Sir has already uploaded. So, in the Indian Ethics Part 1, I have described Varnashram system in details. So, here I will adopt a different approach to this to make this topic actually clear to students present over here. Mainly, the book of Arvind Sharma has guided me to present my views in a way I'm going to present, basically, I can say. So this will not be as basic or fundamental as I have presented in the previous lecture of mine in Indian Ethics Part 1. So the students present over here can visit the official YouTube channel of Forum for Applied Philosophy and can rewatch the Indian Ethics Part 1 and Part 2, where I have covered almost all the topics. So here I'm focusing on the Varņa and Ashram Vyavasthā and their, very complicated relationship with some other concepts, and how in Indian philosophy, in Indian, philosophical system, it is being discussed. So Arvind Sharma in his book writes that Hinduism is often recognized by two unique institutions, and they are Varņa and Ashram, and that is the system of social classes and the stages of life. Means the Varna is a system of social classes, and ashram is taken as the stages of life. And more than that, Hinduism has also identified itself with these two institutions. Like, if somebody asks what kind of dharma is Hinduism, so one can call it is a varnashram dharma, a dharma which involves varna and ashram, meaning a religion defined by these two principles. So the important question for us today is, what do these institutions mean for Hinduism in our present time? Because when we hear the words varna and ashram, or varna or ashram, many images and controversies come to mind. But in the Indian knowledge tradition, this was not just a social classification. Rather, it was a vision of human life. So the Varna system organized society, as we know, and we we have been taught like this. We have studied it almost everywhere that the Varna system organized society, and it was meant to do so. that when we want to organize the society very systematically in a proper way, then we adopt the Varna system. And the ashram system organized the individual life. How an individual, how a person should organize their life. For that purpose, we adopt the ashram system or the ashram vyavastha. So together, these two institutions, together these two principles, they aimed at harmonizing between the self and the society, we can say. So we find some of the references starting from the Vedas, then Upanishads, and Dharma Sutras or Dharma Shastras like Manusmriti, and then Mahabharata, and then the part of the Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. So everywhere we can trace the kind of elements of these systems. So Varna Vyavastha is not exactly the caste system in modern times, because the Varna Vyavastha divided society into four broad categories, or you can say ki umbrella term. So they were Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These were the four broad categories in which the society was divided, and this is the uh, like first time this was mentioned in the Dasham Mandal of Purush Sukta of Rigveda. And in the Dasam Mandal of Purush Sukta of Rigveda, we find that the four Varnas emerge from the cosmic being, that is called Ishwar Sharir. So this particular thing explains the very origin of the Varnas, how Varnas came into the existence. So it is said that Brahmanas come from the mouth, Kshatriyas from the arms, Vaishyas from the thighs, and the Shudras from the feet of the cosmic being. So, a close concept which we use nowadays is jati or caste. And this caste or jati is not fourfold, rather it is multifold. And this caste system divides the society in uh, innumerable numbers, where it can create, and it actually creates, we can say, some inequality, also conflict amongst different castes. So in the early times, this made sense when learning came mainly through family traditions like brahmanas. So today's time, if we want to see the same thing, what happens, that in today's world of universal education, and where global mobility is there, everyone can have education. So we can see that all the four varnas can be found within every individual. And this is a very interesting concept I noticed in the very writings of the Arvind Sharma, this caste and modern times, where he is calling it, this is the idea of sarva varadikata. Sarva varadikata means every individual has the potential or character feature of all the varnas. So we are now carrying this sarva varadikta, and it gives every Hindu a fourfold duties. When we are saying that within every individual there is the idea of sarva varadikta, what actually we want to say, we want to say that every individual is like a brahman, knows or should know the scriptures or rituals. Like a kshatriya, everybody should receive some military training, or you can say some training of defense or martial art, or they should take part in politics, or maybe they should be a very active member of administration or anything. Like a vaishya, everybody should, or every individual should pursue certain vocational training as a profession. And like a shudra, every individual do some form of manual work, some form of service. uh, this we can see that everywhere, at least doesn't matter how rich you are, how powerful you are, in certain religions, in certain communities, it is shown that at certain points people have to do some manual work, they have to do certain services of the poor, or the people who are not that privileged in the society. So if we see the history, uh, the Iranian traveler Al-Biruni, he noted that there was a concept of reincarnation, the Punarjan concept in Hinduism. But when he was writing his, books, then he missed a link, a very important link, and that link was a link between the Varna and Karma. Varna means the class system, which we are considering as a class, and Karma as actions. So in the Hindu view, what happens that one's birth in a caste depends on past karmas. Like in Hinduism, what is accepted, that we get the birth in a particular caste depending upon what kind of actions we have performed in our previous life. And the kind of caste or specific system we are born into, our present duties are dharmas related to that particular caste. And then future karma decides the next birth, like what we are going to do or what we are accumulating as the karma in this very life, that is going to decide the future birth, that in what caste or class we are going to get birth into. So this karma is basically the key to the Varna system. Means if I clarify it, we can say that we are born in a specific Varna, right? Because why we are born in a specific Varna? Because we have earned that. We have earned that specific Varna through our past actions, and our next birth will be decided by our present karmas. And the Varna we belong to tells us what is our dharmas or what is our karmas. So here you can see that there is a confusion regarding whether our karmas decide which word we are to be considered from, or the varnas decide which karmas we are supposed to perform. So this confusion is seen, and this confusion can be noted when one can understand the link between the varna and the karma. So we know that the then Hindu society was divided into these four classes, basically the varnas we are calling it, then came to be organized into different caste groups, smaller class caste groups. And the broader category was of the Varna, that is fourfold order of Varnas, and there are different caste groups within certain Varnas. So here karmas play a key role. Like past karmas decide one's birth, present karmas or dharmas, which we are calling, defines how one lives in the society. So how we should live our society, that is being decided by our present karmas, or what kind of dharma we are adopting in our current life, in our current situation. And future karmas offer the possibility of rebirth in a higher state. Let's say if somebody is Shudra in this life and doing a very good karmas or adopting the dharmas, then might be the possibilities that they are going to get birth into the higher state or the higher classes in the next birth. So in this way, the cycle of karma and rebirth was deeply linked to the Varna system. But here, the idea of caste and karma is especially the key to understand Hindu society. How Hindu society was structured, how they were like made. If we want to understand it, we need to understand the caste and karma. So this particular link shaped uh, not only the caste system, you can say, but also whether the caste system should be accepted or rejected, or there should be certain debates over it, or the caste system needs certain reforms. So many people accepted that caste system, which is the in the modern time the caste system, they are fair. And they say that the saying like present differences come from the past karmas, and those people who opposed it, in turn they reject the idea that present conditions must be explained by the past actions. So many people are there, the entire community nowadays, the entire human community is divided on certain fronts. Some people accept the caste system without raising an issue. Some people reject the caste system, saying that it is altogether very flawed. Some debate over it, seeing the pros and cons, good and bad points. And some says that caste system is good, we just need certain reforms in it. So this is how people are now looking at the caste system. And the caste system is basically class, or what we are calling varna, or it is different from it. It is also debatable. People are still debating whether, because some people confuse the caste and class, so we will look into that. But simultaneously, when we look into the ashram vyavastha, it is also the topic, like Varna and Ashram Vyavasthā. So Varna we just discussed a little bit. Now when we look into the Ashram Vyavasthā, what happens? System divides human life into 4 stages. We all know Brahmacharya, or which is called the student life, then Grihastha or householder's life, then Vanaprastha or retirement life, and Sannyasa, the renunciation. So, like the 4 Varnas, the ashram system is another key feature of Hinduism. And one reference we find in the Kalidasa's Raghuvansham. So in Raghuvansham, Kalidas describes the royal lineage as passing through the 4 stages. So he described how the royal people, they used to, or the princes or the kings, they used to spend their childhood in learning, then youth in enjoying their life, uh, and then later years in retreat like hermits, and then finally ending in the yoga sadhanas, meditation, etc. So this particular thing reflects the 4 ashramas, that brahmacharya should be followed up to the 25 years of life, that is a student life, then grihastha up to the 50, then vanaprastha up to the 75, and the sannyasa, wandering like an ascetic until the death. So this was the ashram vyavastha, like how an individual should live their life in stages. So what is the inner logic here in this particular ashram system? So the inner logic of the ashram system rests on 2 ideas. The one is called pravritti, another is called nivritti. What is pravritti and nivritti? Pravritti is basically the engagement in worldly life. When people get engaged into the worldly life, they are called pravritta, that they are pravritta, or they have the pravritti. And then the nivritti, when they withdraw themselves from the world. So this is a withdrawal from the worldly life. So the 4 stages really expand into 2 main domains: an active life of engagement until 50, like grihasthashram, and up to the grihasthashram, and later life of 50 years is gradual disengagement leading to the renunciation, and that is called, that they are now focusing on or centering on the sannyas ashram. So brahmacharya, what it does, it prepares one for grihastha, and grihastha ashram prepares one for the vanaprastha, while vanaprastha prepares one for the final renunciation. So they are the stages, they seem like in a sequence. So in the varna system, the debate was past life karma versus present life karma, as we discussed. So in the Varna system, there is debate going on, है ना? This past life karma and then versus present life karma. But in the ashram system, what we notice, that debate is about whether to practice pravritti or nivritti. So these 2 kinds of debates are going on, and even if one is practicing pravritti and nivritti, how to practice it, like one after another or together. So traditionally the consensus was that it should be followed in a succession, like firstly worldly life, then renunciation. But if we focus on the modern times, just as we stress present life karma in varna, here also we may pursue pravritti and nivritti simultaneously. So what we can say, I found this very interesting thing, that the stages of life is designed in such a way, and the modern thinkers are actually interpreting it in such a way where you can say that we can pursue both pravritti and nivritti at the same time. We can be pravritti in the worldly life and we can withdraw ourselves also, so we can be nivritt as well. So what in this book I noticed, that living all 4 ashramas side by side in daily life, and what this particular thing is called diurnalization of ashramas. Diurnalization of ashramas means how in the day and night we can divide our lives in certain stages, where we can kind of manage that how we are living, what we should do at what particular time of the day. So the Bhagavad Gita already teaches the idea of pursuing pravritti and nivritti together, and this idea is also, I think, influenced by the Bhagavad Gita's concept, where Bhagavad Gita supports that present life karma and the path of renunciation in action, which we call sometimes anasakta karma or nishkama karma. So this is what? This is especially living in the world but without attachment. So it is renunciation in action. Renunciation of action is not the case. So it is not renunciation of the action, rather renunciation in the action. So what matters is not leaving the world. This is not important that we should leave the world, we should be completely get withdrawal from the world. Rather, performing actions with the right attitude, where we have no attachment, we have no expectations of the fruits or that kind of greed or attachment, anything of that sort. So we know that the detachment comes through inner purification, inner discipline, not through the physical withdrawal. If somebody or someone can withdraw themselves physically, it doesn't mean that they have become disciplined internally as well. So that is the idea here, which I think uh, the modern thinkers are focusing upon, and the many interpreters of Bhagavad Gita has also done so. So Arvind Sharma suggested that in today's world of flexible schedules, the four ashramas can be lived out within a single day. Like all the four ashramas, we can live in one day. How? And why this process is called the diurnalization of ashramas? Because he very, jokingly, in a very light manner, he writes that morning becomes brahmacharya. Because in the morning time, what we do study, we do prayer, etc. So morning time becomes brahmacharya, and the day reflects the daytime, the noon time, the day reflects grihastha. Why? Because in the daytime we do our works, we perform our duties, our family duties, and our earning money, bread, etc. So evening turns into the vanaprastha, because in evening we simply sit, we thought, we think about different things, our thought process goes on, and we do certain quiet reflection with a cup of tea, etc. And he jokingly calls it that many people are nowadays becoming TV prasthas. Why he is calling TV prasthas? I got this very like very interesting connotation. TV prasthas means many people spend their evening time watching the TVs. That is why they are being TV prasthas. But basically the evening time people mainly reflect, and the night is like sannyas. Why it is like sannyas? Because we withdraw ourselves, and we the withdrawal is into the meditation before sleep, and then we sleep and complete withdrawal is there on. So this is called the diurnalization of ashramas, that living the four ashramas in a single day. So every person can basically live in the four ashramas. And how these four varnas are going to be in every person, he has already described. And this is also very interesting, sarva varadikta. So everybody has sarva varadikta, and every individual has that capacity or potentiality to live all in all the four stages within a single day. And these two things are very important. So these four ashramas reflect especially the balance of pravritti and nivritti. How we can balance between how much we have to engage into the world, how much we have to engage into the worldly items, and how much we need to withdraw ourselves, how much we need to focus upon the meditation or the sadhanas or the self reflection, introspection, and many other things. So just as our day symbolizes activity and a night symbolizes our renunciation, life too alternates between these modes. And sleep itself has been described in Hindu thought. If you know that, Dainandinam Maranam, it is called that every day we die, daily death. And what is that daily death? When we sleep, basically we die. So this Dainandinam Maranam is one thing. And P.V. Kade, he notes that while Varna theory addressed man as a member of society, the ashram theory focused on the individual. So there is word, there is ashram. Word is addressing individuals as the member of society. So it is basically the social concept. And the ashramas are focusing on the individual's life. So it's an individual concept. And there is this balance between the individual and the society. And in the modern interpretation, this word actually shifts from the social to the individual in the Sarva Vardikta. So in every individual, this social sites, and the ashram from the outer to the inner. Ashramas were performed externally in the ancient time, but nowadays what we showed that there is the possibility of the diurnalization of ashramas. So these two things are going together, but etymologically also, if you focus, the word can even denote the color of one's karmas. Word is called the color. So this color of the one's karmas, and if you see the very meaning of the ashram, it is also any stage of exertion. So in Hindu tradition, what we see that generally these concepts are uh, to express the individual's life as an individual, as well as a member of the society. So these word ashram vyavastha is very important. And when we wonder about what was the purpose of this system, that our ancestors proposed such a system, if somebody thinks like that, then we get that the purpose of both systems was to guide our duties, our responsibilities, and our learnings, so that society and individual life remained balanced. That balance was needed, and that is why they structured that kind of system. But this system is not easily and widely accepted and appreciated, we know. So mainly the major debate in Hindu tradition was whether one should be based on birth or worth. So whether this word should be based upon nature or conduct. So these were the mostly debating points. Even if we see in the Manusmriti, Manu admits that a Brahman could fall to the status of a Shudra if he failed in his duties. So if somebody is not performing their duties, they are basically degrading. That's the idea. While the Mahabharat praises a virtuous Shudra as a true Brahmana. So the if any Shudra person is there and the Shudra is virtuous, that should not be considered as a Shudra, rather as a Brahmana. So this Brahmana Shudra was not for people, or for it was not decided as per the birth. Rather, it used to see the worth of the people, how worthy they are, how virtuous they are, what actually they are doing, and how well they are performing their duties, etc. That was the criterion to decide whether a person is related to one varna or another. And in the Bhagavad Gita also we say that there is some reflections upon this ambiguity. Like if I ask a question, does Arjun fight because he's a kshatriya, or is he's a kshatriya because he fights? If we think about this question, Arjun should fight because he's a kshatriya, as Lord Krishna is saying that it is your job to do so, it's your duty, because you're kshatriya. So he is kshatriya, that's why he should fight. Or he is a kshatriya because he fights. So this thing is very ambiguous. Gita also reflects upon this, and many critics in their writings fuse the term class with the caste, and due to this fusion many confusion arise. So what I got something very interesting, that when the caste system or the caste or the jati got detached from karma and virtuous conduct, then it sought some reforms, or the reformers sought certain changes. So they did this by doing three things. Firstly, what they do, they trace all castes to one origin. They start saying, the reformers start saying that all the caste had the same origin. This is the first thing. Second is abolishing caste distinctions, that let's abolish the caste distinctions. There is no distinctions among the castes. And the third one is spiritualizing the caste system, so that the caste system can be monetized into the spiritual terminology. So the Mahabharata also says that originally all were Brahmins. In Mahabharata, it is found, the references are there, that originally everybody was a Brahmin, and caste later emerged through different vocations. So this is again certain confusions. Whether all were Brahmanas, in what sense, whether there are 4 categories or not. And once what happened, just like in the Mahabharata, it is said that originally all were Brahmanas, and caste later emerged through different vocations. Guru Gobind Singh, in the 17th century, near about late 17th century and all, he transformed men of all castes, all creeds, all castes into Singh. So he gave that title Singh, and giving the system a Kshatriya spirit through the lionization, that you are a Singh, you are a lion. And the same, this title was given to the every people, all the men of all caste, no matter what caste they belong to. But that was done. Gandhiji also, under the British rule, he said that all Hindus were Shudras. Why so? Because they were serving the Britishers. So doing, seeing their actions, what they were doing, they were all Shudras, and they should record themselves so in the census. Gandhiji said it. So each of these examples shows that how caste was reinterpreted in connection with karmas, occupation, and changing conditions. So if your condition changes, if your occupation changes, if your karmas change, then what happens? Your word or caste also change. And here comes in the modern times the confusion between the caste and class, basically, which we notice. So what happened? Some proposed to eradicate the caste system completely, such as Ambedkar ji. So they argued for abolishing caste, and they said that we are all simply human beings and our actions are human actions, which is common to all. So they criticized the Varna system. Also, they fuse it with the caste system, and they did so because the society was practically, they were not wrong actually, the society was practically doing unequal treatments, giving unequal, uh, uh, the services, seeing the jatis and labeling it as a varna, but doing it as a jati. So that was not their fault. Whosoever criticized the class system, Varna Vyavasthā, taking it as a caste system, it was not their fault. The fault was in the social structure, that it was already distorted. But when we see the earliest traces of Varna in the Rig Veda, what happens, particularly in the famous Purush Sukta, which I also mentioned earlier, later the system becomes more formal, and in the Dharma Shastras, in the Dharma Sutras like Manusmriti, some details were given, some very detailed rules were provided. And that was the time that the class system got distorted and converted into the caste system. And in the modern time, what is happening? We people are not living in the class system. We are living in the caste system. So what is happening? The authors like Arvind Sharma, they are trying to justify the very need and relevance of the Varna and Ashramas, talking about the dialectization of the Ashramas and the Sarva Varnadikta, so that everybody can be standing upon the same stage. Everybody is on the same foot. Nobody can say that there is a hierarchy, somebody is greater, somebody is not greater at all, or somebody is short, somebody is very big, etc. So these kind of distinctions can be avoided. They are trying, and that is why the reinterpretations are going on. So in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, we see some philosophical reflections as well. Like if I notice, chapter 4, aphorism number 13, it says that Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gudakarma Vibhagasha. The 4 Varnas were created by me, Bhagavan Krishna is saying, according to the qualities and the actions, good and karmas, not simply by birth. And this thing shows a more dynamic view. Why? Because the word and the ashram systems are not just about society. They are actually the part of the ethical and spiritual vision of Indian knowledge system. And Varna gives duties for society, ashramas gives duties for the individual lives. So together they ensure the balance. Society has order and individuals progress step by step in their life journey. So this is why they are considered integral to the Indian knowledge system, because we are knowledgeable when we know what to do for oneself and for the society. So the knowledge system has this task to make us aware of our individual duties, our individual life, and as well as our social duties, that what we are supposed to do for the society. Like Bradley has said that my station, my duties. So that kind of thing. Also, the original purpose was behind this particular system we are talking about, the Varnashram Vyavasthā. It was very practical. And what was the purpose? The purpose was to organize society through vision, through that vision where we can actually divide the labor. So the division of labor was the purpose. So organizing the society through the division of labor, and then to guide human beings through different stages of life. That was the purpose behind this particular system. The four castes were sometimes seen as four human types. And what are those types? Thinkers, doers, feelers, and those who are not that developed, so less developed, you can say. So different paths were suggested them to be followed in order to reach to the moksha. All these paths are to reach to the moksha, but like what we can do, how we can do. So somewhere it is found, I don't know how much it can be justified, but I found this very interesting, uh, like similarities, and also which system, which varna should follow which path to reach to the moksha. So it is said that Brahmanas should follow the Jnana Yoga, the Jnana Marga. Kshatriyas should follow the Karma Yoga, Karma Marga. Vaishyas should follow the Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Marg. And Shudras should follow the Hatha Yoga. I don't know how much it is justified. If Shudras are less developed, then the Hatha Yoga, if they follow, they could be physically, mentally, emotionally strong. Maybe that's the idea behind it. So the Brahmanas are following the Jnana Yoga, Kshatriyas the Karma Yoga, Vaishyas the Bhakti Yoga, and Shudras the Hatha Yoga. So yet in practice, what happens? Bhakti often cut across like caste lines, and it can soften or even break the rigid boundaries amongst the caste systems or the class systems, basically. So even in this particular scheme, what happens? Caste was linked to the different kinds of action. Like how this caste was linked to the different kinds of actions: intellectual actions, practical actions, emotional actions, and physical actions. So respectively, you can connect it to the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And these are seen as stages on the path to self-realization as well. And if we accept this link between caste and karma, what happens? Here we can understand how the system worked in the past and also see its possible relevance for modern life. Now, how much it is important and how much it is not, it is still could be debated. But a very important question might be today whether it is still relevant, whether this Varna Vyavasthā is still relevant. If somebody asks, so the ashram system is still meaningful. It seems meaningful. Like we still see that life is moving through phases of education, then career, then the marital life, then retirement, then spiritual reflection, etc. So there is the gradual process, and almost everybody is going through the same path. Although the exceptions are there, but still, so it is still alive in some form. We can say so. And about the Varna Vyavasthā, we can say that as long as the Varna is understood as based on qualities and work, like good and karma, yes, it is meaningful. But when Varna became rigid, like caste by birth, that is Jati Vyavasthā, which we call Jati Vyavasthā. So if the word became rigid, like caste by birth, what happens? It lost its relevance. And it is losing its relevance as well, because the class system often didn't match real life caste system, but people changed vocations within one lifetime. What happens, like for example, if I say someone could teach as a brahman, and the same person can work in a factory. And if the person is working in a factory, so consider the person as a shudra. The same person can do business, so as a vaishya. And the person can serve in the army as well, in the kshatriya. One person can keep changing their vocations, and we have seen many people that 10 years ago they were doing something else, now they are doing something else, and maybe after 5-10 years they will be doing something else completely. So even in ancient India, dynasties, if we see and look into the history, they also didn't always fit their caste labels. Like for examples, I have I can tell you certain dynasties like Nandavansha. Nandas, they were Shudras. Shungavansh, Shungas were Brahmanas. Guptavansh, Guptas were Vaishyas. The Vakatakas, they were Brahmanas. And especially it could be seen that even the dynasties which ruled in the history of Indian, society and culture, the true Kshatriya dynasties are hard to find. So this shows that vocation and caste rarely coincided neatly, or uh, we can say that now the classes exist, though the rigid sense of it has become dysfunctional. So this functionality is there, and this particular system has not gone unquestioned as well. Many people have questioned, like the Buddha, the Mahavira, they opposed birth based hierarchy and emphasized equality. Also in the bhakti era, the medieval time, the bhakti saints like Kabir Das, Ravidas, like Radas, and the Tukaram, and many people, they rejected caste distinction, and they taught that division, the devotion, their karmas, they are higher than the birth. So if we see in the modern times, Gandhiji also tried to reinterpret varna, and he interpreted it as a division of labor without any hierarchy, while Dr. Ambedkar ji, he criticized it strongly as an unjust system where it is taken as a rigid caste system. So when Varna system is taken as a caste system, the rigid form of it, and then it is highly criticized, and it is in some respect justifiable as well. So the debates around it actually is continuing even today. But one thing which I want to focus here in this particular lecture is what is this Varna versus caste, and why people talking about Varna Vyavasthā started talking about Jati Vyavasthā, and why people have no clarity between the difference uh, between the Varna and caste. So it is very important to distinguish between Varna and Jati. So Varna is a theoretical system. Theoretical system of what? Theoretical system of 4 divisions. This division is based on what? This division is based on qualities and duties. And on the other hand, the caste or jati is a later development, came after the Smriti Kala, etc. After the Manusmriti and Dharma Sutras were written in that time. Thousands of hereditary groups are there, and rigidly they are fixed by birth. So if you're born in a certain jati, your jati is not going to change throughout your life. That is Jati Vyavastha. It is very fixed system. But we are seeing that the theoretical system of the 4 division, that is the Varna system, it is changing. As soon as you are changing your vocation, your word is getting changed also. So scholars note that jati more than varna reflects the actual social reality of Hindu life. Many people claim that this is the reality of Hindu tradition and Hindu life, because this is the vyavastha of jati, not the varna. Or varna vyavastha could might be only the theoretical one. So this reflects the actual social reality of Hindu life, to the extent that some define Hindu society solely in terms of jatis. Even groups conscious of their varna, they act primarily within jati boundaries. Let me tell you one example. While the scriptures or text allow interdining or intermarriage between Brahman and Kshatriya across regions, right, in the Indian Hindu tradition, but in practice, does it happen? No. In practice, this rarely occurs. Why so? Because it prompts many thinkers to observe that Hindus have been more orthodox than their scriptures. Why so? Because this word system is vertical. Vertical means there is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. As Jati system is very horizontal. There are multiple Jatis, and they are consisting of thousands of localized communities. For example, Brahmins in UP and Brahmins in Kerala both fall under the word of Brahmin. Yet, in practice, they may not intermarry or interdine. A Brahmin of UP may be not happy to marry their daughter or son into the family of Brahmins in Kerala, because their jati identities are dominating. Their jatis in their locality, in their localized communities, has a different connotation, has a different meaning. And theoretically, since every jati is linked to a varna, the Varna Ashram framework actually covers both. But in real life, what happens? Jati identity often overshadows the Varna. So this difficulty is eased by the larger Hindu ideal found in the Vedas and Puranas, and that beyond Varna and Jati, that all human beings ultimately belong to one Jati, and that is human race, like Manav Jati. So while Varna was an ideal philosophical concept, the jati became the social reality. One is the philosophical concept, which is ideal, adarsh, darshanik, vichardhara. Second one is actually the social reality, samajik vastu sthiti. So much of this criticism is directed not as a varna, as an idea, but at the caste system that actually grew out of it. So if we look at the scriptures, we find that the scriptures have both supported and questioned this system, and supporting text including the Rig Veda of Purushukta, the Manusmriti, and the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, which talk about the Varna as, based on good and karma, etc. We see that there are also critical voices. In the Mahabharata, uh, we find that certain passages that they say that all beings are equal. Buddhist text like the uh, Ambat Ambattha Sutta criticized Brahmanical superiority and emphasized that conduct, not birth, makes a person noble. So, this is our conduct which makes us noble, not our birth, that which clan we are born into. That is not going to make us, very worthy. So, some thinkers argue that we need not to worry much about Varna and Ashram, since they may simply dissolve with economic progress. So, this Varna and Ashram Vyavasthā nowadays is dissolving through the economic progress. Some people are saying so, from both capitalist and communist perspective, because these are seen as the pre-industrial structures when there was no industries, no mechanization, industrialization, technological development, modernization, etc. That era, in that time, it was prevalent, and that fade as society modernizes. So with the industrial revolution, occupational mobility, functional differentiation, and sometimes secularization, they naturally weaken the varnashram system. So in this view, what happens? Capitalism itself ensures it declines. So the nations are becoming capitalist. They are focusing on the economic growth, and the more they are focusing on the economic growth, the lesser this class and caste are making any sense. So it is actually making it vanish quietly. Like the example, you can take it like an old year giving way to the new one. So new year is coming, old year is just passing by. So what happens in the Hinduism? Thinking about ashramas have always been very fluid, and the rigid four varnas. And P.V. Kane identifies three approaches: samuchay, vikalp, and badha. And he says that what happens when we are following these ashram vyavastha, where there is a samuchay following for four stages of the order. There is a vikalp, like you can skip stages, like you can directly move one stage to the another, like Shankaracharya. He took the leap, so he skipped the in between stages and directly went from the brahmacharya to the sannyas ashram. And there is a badha also, like giving the preeminence to the grihastha life and limiting other options. So other options when you are limiting, so these three are the three approaches basically accepted by P.V. Kane. So what happens? We see that both justification and critique within the Indian tradition itself regarding the Varnashram Vyavastha. So, if we want to see the present connotation with these terms, looking at the social side of Varna, it can be implied that one's Varna can change with vocation. If you are changing your vocation, your Varna is changing. Like if I am a teacher now, I am Brahman. But what if I start my business and I resign here and completely immerse myself into the business, then I will become the Vaishya. No more Brahmanas. So, for example, in Bali, Indonesia, the word is identified with occupations. A defense personnel is a Kshatriya, businessman is a Vaishya, teacher, a Brahman, and an employee in any company doing services is a Shudra. Meaning that changing jobs changes one's murder, and with no sense of superiority or inferiority. When I was working on my thesis, I focused on this ideology. Professor Paul, fortunately, was my examiner. So even in ancient India, texts like the Katha Sarit Sagar hint at this flexibility, as when a father asks his daughter that which of the four varnas would you like your husband to belong to. Basically, he's asking that what kind of occupation you want your husband to be into. So lastly, I would like to summarize the entire thing into certain points. Simply put, Varna organizes society, ashram organizes individual lives, and both were meant to create harmony between society and individual, between duty and freedom. Next is, this system is central to Indian knowledge because Varna gave social duties, Ashrama gave life duties. Together, they connected social ethics with individual spirituality. So, you cannot study IKS, that is Indian knowledge system, without touching on this. And it was made to organize society, to divide labor, to give people roles. Ashram guided individual growth. Is it relevant today or not? So if you take the flexible idea, word by qualities and work, yes, it is. But the rigid caste system is not. The ashram model, where student, householder, retirement, reflection, etc., then still it makes sense. Then not everyone agreed. In the history of the Indian knowledge system, not everybody agreed with this system. Mahatma Buddha and Mahavir Swami, they opposed this hierarchy. Bhakti saints like Kabir Das, Raidas, they rejected the caste, emphasized devotion. In modern times, Gandhi ji, Ambedkar ji, they all reinterpret like Gandhi ji reinterpret, and Ambedkar ji completely, outrightly rejected this idea. So, because he used to think it as a system of operation. So, many people raised voice against the Varnashram Vyavasthā. So if somebody thinks that it is the Indian culture or Indian knowledge systems a very prevalent idea or everybody accepted, no, this is not the case. The next point is, we must separate Varna from caste. Varna is fourfold. There is 4 divisions based on qualities and duties, and this is an ideal framework. But caste, thousands of jatis. It is very rigid. It is hereditary. It is often comes with untouchabilities concept also. So Varna was theoretical, caste was social reality. Then many scholars say that caste is a historical distortion of the original Varna idea, because the shift was from by equality and action to by birth, and that actually changed everything. And Indian tradition is not one voice, it is a dialogue. That is why we called it a knowledge system. So it includes debate, it includes reform, it includes discussion, discourses, critiques, Purva Paksh, Uttar Paksh, and Vad, Vivad, etc. And that's how it enriched. So Varna and Ashram Vyavastha are not just social arrangements, they are part of deeper vision of life in India. And then the ideals were very noble. Ideals were the order, responsibility, organization, system, progress, etc. But the problems came when the ideals hardened into the rigid caste divisions. As scholars, we must study both the ideals and the distortions. We should focus on both the praises and the criticisms. Only then we can understand the Indian knowledge system in its fullness. So word and ashram were meant to balance society and individual life, but history shows us that how ideals can be distorted. So our task is to learn, to criticize, and to reform. And with this note, I would like to stop here. If you have any questions, I am open to have that question, and we can have certain discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeti. You have given a novel idea, actually novel analysis of the Varna Vyavasthā, and actually it is done primarily by Arvind Sharma. He is an expert in comparative religions. He has many books in the Hindu religion and also some other religions too. And he has tried to give an alternative version, alternative analysis. This is theoretically okay, and it can give some space for re-understanding our culture. But still, there are issues like otherworldliness, and particularly if you define human being as you have born in a poor family or a lower caste, and you are referring to that. And this actually de-emphasize the social realities, that why I am poor It is an social reality, it is a political reality, and you are not giving importance to that aspect. And that is a very important problem here. Another is you can still, if you say there are only 4 Varnas, it is very difficult to justify this specific that in 4 pigeon hole you can accommodate all the people of the world. It is not possible. And even if you do it more than 100, that will also not do. And another point is that there are the issues. If we accept Varnavad, that is Varna Vyavasthā in particular, then you cannot avoid caste, because you are accepting the cause and denying the effects. It's not possible. So all these questions are very, very problematic for understanding or for supporting Varnavad. And finally, it gives us an ideology practically, and it has some political connotation too. That if we make people divided by saying Varna or caste or many other things, then it will be helpful to the men in power, and that is what Indian system, or you can say Manu Samhita, etc., is doing. With this observation, I am now opening the session for discussion. There must be some question, because it is debatable and it should be done. It should be debated. Please.
Thank you, sir, for your observation. Before somebody asks anything, may I clarify certain things?
Yes.
Because you raised certain questions and observations, so I would like to say a few words here. Sir, firstly, I want to say that the questions related to the social justice, like why am I poor? Why am I'm lame or I'm blind by birth, etc. These questions are otherworldly questions and rebirth questions. So we take it as that there are ambiguities, there are not very much clarifications when we add the karmas and varnas, because there is a loop. So I focused on that. I talked about it, and I also believe that if we believe that our birth is defined and decided by our karmas, and then our next karmas and birth is also going to be decided by that thing, then there will be a loop. Like if word we are going to accept, and according to the word we are going to perform our actions, then again we are going to have the same kind of word in the next birth. So there will be created a loop, and we can never be able to change that. And this is the belief system when actually the jati came into the existence. And also these 4 varnas, when we talk about why only 4, why not 100 or more than 100, that was the case also when the jati came into the dominance. When why jati took the dominance over the varna vyavastha, because people started saying that my occupation is different from yours. Look, I am doing this thing, you are doing that thing, so let's be divided. And they started noticing the very form and structure of the occupations, and they started dividing over that. And that is why we have thousands or more than thousands of the jatis. So it will again get converted into the jati vyavastha. So the basic feature, the basic domain, just like in the Plato's Republic, we find the three major areas where the entire society is structured. Just like that, these are the 4 major or primary, we can say, the fundamental pillars of the society. They are in between each varnas, there are multiple kinds, multiple jatis, multiple layers of their tasks. So these things are there. Although I'm not a very much supporter of the jati vyavastha, but I do believe that this class is very necessary. No matter what kind of society we are going to create, how advanced it will be, how rich it will be, still we are going to need some people who can clean the streets. We are going to need, maybe in the upcoming time, we are going to have the AI robots will be cleaning the streets, not the human job, it will be remain. But still, in the even the Japan, Germany, New Zealand, everywhere people are divided into these 4 classes. So these are the prerequisite of any the structure of the society. That's how we accept it. And the next thing, sir, I want to say that what I found very good is that whenever people say, like Ambedkar ji said, that we are all human, so we are related to one jati, that is the human jati, human race. And when we are accepting the sarva varnadikta, then also the same ideal we are proposing. Like when we are saying that we every individual has the sarva varnadikta, I have the all the potentiality of becoming any vardas, so I'm not going to do the injustice or unequal treatment to any of the person related to any other vardas. So that's how the same ideal can be achieved through both the lenses. Both the approaches can lead us to the same thing, that is equality, the egalitarian society we can make. So that's how the Varna Vyavasthā seems very organized, but yes, there are flaws when we are going to attach it with the very metaphysical connotations of the karma and then rebirth and then other things. And then also that the distortions came into the dharma shastra era, and they seeped into the very concept of varna, and then they got distorted. So I accept, sir, your all points are valid, but still if we go through this approach also, we can maintain the harmony and balance between individuals and societies, that I see.
Okay, thank you very much for your clarification. But you have told about Bali, and I have a student from Bali who came to here for the PhD, and I went there also Bali. And you are correct that they take this idea in the Borno, that is one who is teaching is a Brahmana, and
Yeah.
that type of idea is there, still is there, and I have seen it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
thank
still
you very
practice.
much.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you, sir. I was not knowing that fact. Nice to know about it. Thank you.
So there are other participants also. Sujoy, do you have any query?
No, sir.
Nilanjana?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you, ma'am. It's a wonderful session we have. Uh, Actually, it's not a query. Actually, what sir also told that Varna Vyavasthā and Jati, class or caste, this division is very important, because the problem is coming from the misinterpretation of Varna Vyavasthā, what I feel. But somewhere in our brain, it is situated that this four Varna Vyavasthā, what we today's caste system is actually coming from this Varna Vyavasthā. We cannot deny it after the end of the day.
Yeah, of course,
Uh,
of course. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. So, what you have said, that one man can belong, not only if a man kshatriya in the same time, not the same time, after 5 or 10 years he can perform as a brahman, as a vaishya as well. This is the what I say. This is the dynamic Uh, stage of Varna Vyavasthā. But there is another concept is related, which is Sadharma and Paradharma. Somewhere uh, our Gita, it is explained that if you are Kshatriya, you cannot play another role. If you do it, it becomes sin. So it is kind of wrong interpret. We know all that it is kind of wrong interpretation which we have situated in our brain, but this concept is like we cannot deny in our society, today's society. Somewhere we in modern days we reinterpret all those concepts in our own way. But do you believe, ma'am, that we can it is acceptable in the current society that Varna Vyavasthā and Jati is not same, it is different?
Nilanjana ji, very good point, and wonderfully presented. You have your views, and I would say that the thing you were discussing about, that when in Bhagavad Gita it is said that Swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharme bhayavah, paradharmo bhayavah. It means that while performing one's own duties, if one's die, then it is very good. It is admirable. But trying to do another's paradharma, another's duties, it is very bhayavah. It is not good at all, not praiseworthy at all. This is a thing which I raised a point in between my talk when I was asking a question whether Arjun should fight because he is a warrior or belonging to the Kshatriya class, or he is a Kshatriya, that's why he should fight. Can you see the loop? That
Yes,
loop I was
yes,
talking
yes.
about. That loop I was talking about, that let's say ki we have done certain kind of actions in the past. That's why we have taken the birth into the Kshatriya clan. Now, being a Kshatriya, it is my dharma, swadharma, to fight. So if I'm fighting, I'm again doing the Kshatriya dharma. So I'm accumulating the adrishta, the papa punya, dharma, etc. And this is going to again give me the Kshatriya clan in the next birth. And that's how this is going to be in a loop. And again I'm going to be born as a Kshatriya only, not in any other clan. So that's why this Swadharma wala concept and this loop, the karma and dharma and varna and their relation, intermingle relation, that has an ambiguity. And that is why it is said that guna and karma, good we also have to look at. Many examples are there where like the gunas, and that gunas, like in the Bhagavad Gita also, it is described as sattva, rajas and tamas. So every individual has to focus upon what kind of inclination they have. And it might possible that people have the inclination related to the different varnas even when they are born in certain clan. Like if this is called nowadays in the modern time, this is called nepotism. If somebody is born into a family, let's say the political family, the person is surrounded by the political people, political aura all the time. All the discussion is going on related to politics. Everybody is behaving politically. Everybody is engaged in politics. The baby is going to evolve into the political arena, and the most possible chances are that that person is also going to be adopting the very the duties of a politician, or the job of a politician, occupation of politics. That's how it works in every field. And that's what happened in the history also, because people started taking the swadharma concept and they started fixing it to one particular word only, not allowing people to trespass or kind of transcend their own specific varnas. And that's how it got distorted into the jati. So obviously the jati is coming through the varna vyavastha, and in the history it has been done, and theoretically it was an ideal, and we claim it all the times. Theoretically it is an ideal, but practically what is happening, practically we are living in a society where the caste system is prevalent. Doesn't matter how much we glorify the varna vyavastha and its organization, its systematization, its importance, its relevance, everything, but the reality is that on the ground it is in the distorted form. So that is why I say that when people start accepting that we all have the sarva varnadikta and we can all live, we can all become everything, then we are going to see everybody as an equal, not as a conflicting personality or as a probable enemy or foe. So that's the idea I emphasize over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nilanjana ji, for raising a wonderful point.
Any other queries or question? Tiadi, can you hear me? Tiarani Hajra, madam.
No, sir, no, sir.
No question. Okay. So if there are no other issues, we will be concluding our session. One point I should raise at the end. One is that in Tamil Nadu, perhaps they have given permission to other caste to be priest. It is a positive development,
Yes.
but still in other parts of our country. Because Durga Puja is coming, but if I know the Sanskrit very well, still I am not allowed to do the puja. So that type of problem is there among and for the ordinary parlance. For the ordinary parlance, it is very, very problematic. So, these things are not very pleasant. All these things. With this unpleasant note, we are concluding the session. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you. Good night to all of you.
Thank you, sir, for inviting me. Thank you, everyone, for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.